Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn the Melody. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of my series, Managing Self, where I have the opportunity to share with you, the listener, how I have embraced positive thinking, fitness, and a overall healthy lifestyle to manage myself for the past almost 20 years living with multiple sclerosis, or MS. Exacerbation free for almost the past 8 years. I know that I'm not, I know that I'm not out of the woods, as some would say, because of the unpredictability that comes with being afflicted with the MS monster that we know as multiple sclerosis. Okay, so I've never just sat on my hands, even after diagnosed March 1999. To this day, I consider myself pretty proactive with my management of my multiple sclerosis. My multiple sclerosis journey is mine, and I figure I need to be my own self-advocate and be as proactive as possible. So I've been doing that for the past almost 20 years now by embracing this healthy lifestyle that I live every day. 3.5 years, let's see, I diagnosed in March 1999, and at about 3.5 years later, I actually started competing in bodybuilding figure competitions, and actually I was pretty successful there. A lot of wins, and I even early on there, probably about 2003, I became a certified fitness trainer, and I went ahead and did this because I wanted to learn as much as I could. Not learn, but I wanted to try to understand as much as I could, and particularly about me. Now that I was, diagnosed with this chronic illness, that back then there wasn't as much knowledge about MS. So I was trying to figure out what could I do to understand me and live the best life possible with this chronic illness. So I just want to sidebar. I want to encourage everybody out there to pay attention to your body. And like myself, I remember before I even got diagnosed, I would go to each doctor's visit with a journal and present to him or her everything that had gone on in much detail so that we could kind of pinpoint what was going on. So just a side note, like I said, this is managing me. So like, hopefully you can manage yourself. Anyway, where was I? Basically healthy living. So I want to learn everything I could about my body. And, to this day, I continue to do just that. I do my part. I do my part. I do my part, whatever I can, when I can. And it's all in hopes of mitigating the potentially debilitating effects of MS on my body. And more importantly, to retain as much control of my lifestyle that's possible. So, like I said, the series is called Managing Self, or that's what I try to do, manage self. Okay, so you may have heard that saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, yes and no. Or shall I say, I personally fall back on the truth, and not this theory or postulate or axiom or I don't know, any of those other fancy intellectual, mathematical, or logical terms. I always fall back on pretty much a truth. It depends. It depends on what. It depends on when, where, and how, and which version of yourself was in Vegas, right? It depends. It depends on what you think. Can really stay somewhere. Maybe you're thinking you can have an experience, make it go away by perhaps not acknowledging it like it never happened, but forgetting about it, if it's possible. That's, I guess, like I said, I think it's a kind of who, what, when, where, how, and all those other interrogatory statements. It depends. Now, that's my opinion. Opinions, yours, mine. Don't Your opinion, my opinion, they'll never sync up 100% of the time. But I'm pretty certain we've had similar ones at different times. And going into my 20th year battling MS, I've come to realize this. But more importantly, I've come to appreciate that our different ways of handling stuff, particularly getting things done, common goals. This is so silly, I know. Well, I was thinking about this like replacing an empty toilet paper roll. I know when I'm done, I expect there to be toilet paper on that little cardboard spool, instant gratification. That's what I want. And although I have a preference, I don't care if it's rolling off the roll, over or under, I'm happy I made it without any accidents. Just like when I was first learning that, going potty. But the toilet paper roll placement, my mama, she didn't teach me, have the spool off under or over. She just basically said, if you finish it, don't leave it on empty roll on there. I say, yes, ma'am. That was personal preference that I developed that later as an adult. But my mom, she did teach me to walk. And I'm pretty sure she didn't give me instructions like she was giving commands at some military marching academy or, nothing like that. I'm sure she didn't. I don't remember her saying left, right, left, nothing like that. But, I think her goals was pretty much for me to walk, to walk for the rest of my life. And, no doubt she was setting me up for a life-changing goal. Her baby would be walking for the rest of her life. My first job was also life-changing. I was in a new culture with a new set of responsibilities. I'd like to say I was welcome to grown-upness. I was an auditor at a Big Six accounting firm. There's only four There's only four major public accounting firms now. So that tells you how old I am. It was actually 1994. But the seniors and the managers and the partners, everybody was pretty helpful. And I was one of the few new additions at the office, and with a few females, mostly male, but I was a new addition, and I noticed that none of the females even offered to help me to walk. Right? They all gave me advice and their opinions on how to talk the talk. That corporate talk, the corporate jargon, or so to speak. But the walk, literally the walk. And back then, it was a standard pump. No, I didn't get any advice on that. Now, that was an issue for me. The tennis shoe only wearing Dawn now had to function around a revolving set of complete strangers. Well, finally, someone suggested I change from comfortable sneakers to the proper expected formal business attire shoe, when I got into the office. Working as a, upcoming CPA, various clients throughout the country, walk on the carpet, walk on the floors. And I was in New Orleans, the dreaded parking lot crushed oyster shells. I can't believe we did that, but I improvised. I'm today I still improvise a lot, especially with my MS. But fast forward 4 years later, from my first job to my second job, 4 years later, I was working. September 1998, I was working in Texas. I had to move to Texas in 1997. So I was working as an internal auditor at a major railroad company. When I had to go in the field, or basically, at one of the train locations, walk outside, maybe like literally walk on tracks and maybe observe some stuff. It was internal audit control. So back then I was prepared. I was prepared with my, my PPE, personal protection equipment. I had my hard hat, I had my Red Wing steel toe rugged boots on, and I like that improvisation because it was like, okay, I don't have to wear this silly suit and heels out here. But, I still wore my suit and my pumps in the corporate office, but I quickly ditched that I totally ditched that wholeheartedly. I was like, whatever. When I embraced the business casual in our office, I was like, oh, wow, cool. We get to wear something besides a totally formal suit every day. And this was really welcomed, especially when my MS symptoms onset September 11th, 1998. Okay, I actually began my employment there at the railroad spring 1997. And my MS symptoms, that is, onset September the 11th, 1998. And after almost 6 months of short-term disability, and after I was diagnosed on March 11th, 1999, and after I had returned to work sometime that spring in 99, I began my first DMD, my first disease-modifying drug. Over 6 months after symptoms onset, I still got my my right leg would still lock up on me, and this would happen in conjunction with my intentional tremors with my right hand, and basically I got the old MS shaky leg, and I figured it's okay. I pretty much I played it off, especially if I was sitting in a meeting. In my mind, I thought I can make this go away. It never happened, or at least I pretended that it never happened. Not to me. And even though I'm right-handed, I often sat down and wrote in meetings, in meetings with clients during interviews. But I sat down and I wrote with my left hand because I didn't want anybody to see my hand shaking, or where sometimes it would shake, and it would literally throw a pen somewhere. So I would just leave it in my lap and write with my left hand. I figured I could leave this unsteady hand there and not bring attention to my situation. And if I was sitting, I didn't have to walk, so that was fine. But that was my thoughts. I could leave that unstable walking, unstable shaking. I could leave it there, there in my head. That's where I figured. People said MS is all in your head, which technically it is in our heads, but I figured I had mind control, and that's how I thought I was going to manage it. Fast forward again, this time 2.5 years after diagnosis, which actually just happens to be 3 years after my symptoms onset. So September 2002. I got this. I have MS. It doesn't have me. And I'm in control. This is what I was saying. Even though I had increased disease activity that was detected on the MRI readings, or by the doctors from the MRI readings. And I even had recently decided to switch which disease-modifying drug I was taking. September 2002, I decided to challenge myself. Keep it fresh, keep it new. I decided to challenge myself to walk gracefully in high heels in front of hundreds of spectators, and to be judged on my execution. To be judged by experts in the fitness industry on how well, first of all, how fit I could look on stage in a bikini, and then how well I could walk in these high heels. You may say, why would I do such a thing? Oftentimes I just say because I can, and it was a challenge that I accepted. I figured, why not? Anyway, I entered the bodybuilding women's figure competitive scene. It was something to do. It was in line with my healthy lifestyle, me understanding my body. Now the heel thing, wearing the heels, well, that was I knew that was an extra step for me, but I wasn't willing to take it. Basically, muscles, sparkly bikinis, and high heels. Go figure. Fast forward. This time, 1 year. 1 year to September 2003. September 2003, I began working as an audit consultant, working both domestically and internationally. But before I got up and running with the travel schedule and everything, 2 weeks after I started the position, which was actually also 1 year after, almost to the date, 1 year after I had competed in my very first fitness show, went into that show in 2003. I won my division. Division is based on height, by the way. Not only did I win that division, but I also won the overall title. So 2004, my travel schedule was pretty hectic, pretty busy. So there were no shows that I entered in 2004. So I didn't compete until actually I settled down back in the Dallas, Texas area. And actually, I was fortunate enough to have a client that was less than a mile away from my house. So that year in 2005, when I came back to Texas area, 2005, whew, let's say as an understatement, I'll say it was dynamic, a very dynamic year. And my getting through 2005 was no walk in the park. And yeah, that pun was 100% intended. I got back on stage, I'm working full time. I still have MS. I'm still taking my injections. I got back on stage and I won my class in the figure class. And actually, that was the Ronnie Coleman Classic. I sure did, right? Anyway, I decided to hit the national competition stage. I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling good. I can do this. And I should have went in 2003, but I didn't because I was working and I was busy. But I decided to hit the national competition stage, and I didn't do very well. And it wasn't because of MS, but I had work to do as a competitor. I had to get more muscle, etc., yada, yada, yada. So that was, I believe that was June. Yeah, it was June in Chicago. But anyway, I didn't do well there, but I do remember going to New Orleans. My late husband told me about a show in New Orleans, and actually, I went down there and I won the overall title of Miss Bikini America, Delta region. Okay. It was interesting because not only was I walking in high heels and being judged, but I also had to do model turns on all points of the stage. I don't know. It's still surreal to me that I actually could pull this off with MS because I knew the challenges that I was having even standing there. I owned it. Even with MS, I won. But I guess MS scored in September 2005, later that year. And that month I had my worst exacerbation to date. And that ultimately led to my farewell to corporate America. I did continue to compete. And during this time, I had minimal amount of falls. A few significant, but the most significant incident occurred on my endeared competition stage. And where did this occur? In Vegas. I had placed fifth in the same show. It was a national show in 2006, but in 2008, a disaster occurred. And I say why a disaster? Because that day MS was stronger than my mind control. No, I wasn't drunk. I simply could not walk. And when I mean not walk, I mean not just walk gracefully, but I couldn't walk. I could barely make it across the stage. No matter how much mind control that I tried to conjure up, I just couldn't do it. Embarrassed at the time, but today, I'll say I'm pretty proud of myself. I was courageous enough to even try what many think can't be done. In fact, my first neurologist, who I dismissed from my treatment, he said I'd be in a wheelchair within 10 years after diagnosis. So I believe with my positive thinking and my words that I spoke, my faith in God, I think all these things brought about something else. In 2005, Dawn Melanie, myself, left corporate America because of MS, or multiple sclerosis. And now in 2008, I left the endeared competition stage because of MS. That July show, July 2008, all I can say is wow. It happened in Vegas. And this time, like I said, there were thousands of spectators. And the stiffest competition from all over the country. And, I wish that I could just, well, I wish, and I probably tried to like just leave that experience there, like, yeah, okay, whatever. It happened in Vegas, let's leave it in Vegas. But unfortunately, I couldn't leave my MS in Vegas. And soon the walking canes followed. Yeah, I said walking canes followed. That's plural. I think I have 7 canes, and they're all different colors, different heights, or lengths rather. Basically for whatever heel that I could, that I want to wear. I still wear heels. I have energy in the earlier part of the day, so I'll still wear a heel if I want to. Play dress up, look girly, whatnot. But 2012, again September 2012, after that crazy Vegas event, I think 4.5 years or so, I kind of look at it like I took back my dignity, or basically I did what I wanted to do. I competed, and I competed successfully. This time with one of my walking canes. Like I said, I had several canes, and I wasn't trying to hide, I guess so much hide the fact that I had MS, but again, be an example. Not just show myself, but be an example to others that, we do have to be flexible and that we can get things accomplished. Maybe not the way that most people get it accomplished, but we can still get stuff done. So, I got on stage with one of my walking canes. I had it specially ordered. This was a new one at the time to accommodate my competition heels. It was cleverly coordinated to match my 2-piece bikini. And I didn't put any diamonds or anything on there, no sparkly stuff. So I didn't want to bring attention to the cane. I was just using it as an assistive device so that I wouldn't fall over. I don't know. I call myself a figure chick because that's what I've always competed in, primarily the figure divisions. But this show, I tried my hand at something different. Again, a challenge. And this one was the more muscular division. So here I am going, okay, I'm going to try to compete against the more muscular physiques up there. And the division is actually called the physique division. So in the physique division, I won. I won that one. And might I add, it's barefoot. So I'm standing on stage barefoot, striking muscular poses and things like that. Especially like the pose downs with the other competitors. And Dawn Melanie with MS, I won. The figure one with the heels on, I received 2nd place. Still not bad. I'd say not bad at all. Actually commendable. I want to rewind now. Back to, it's interesting because on that show, 2012, I had the same judge who judged my a show that I competed in 2003. And she actually pulled me aside and she told me, Dawn, get your walk together. And she meant, walk more gracefully. She didn't know that I had MS at the time. But I understood what she meant. I was standing there pretty much akimbo like a cowboy with my hands on my hips, my feet spread quite far apart, not appropriate for, this beautiful, graceful bikini stand. So now today I understand that I was doing that to accommodate my balance issues. But after she pulled me aside, I practiced my walking every time before I got on the show after. In fact, I did my household chores in my high heels. And no, my husband, he didn't mind at all me walking around the house like that. But the show in 2012, like I said, the one that I presented and got 1st and 2nd place, I'm most happiest about because I presented the real Dawn Melanie version and I won. I was reminded of that summer 2008 Vegas trip just 2 weeks ago. I had a fall. I went to my neurologist for my 6-month follow-up. And, after talking to him and what happened and, the upcoming spinal MRIs to see if there's anything going on new with me, man, it was weird because I was like going, wow, the version that I gave in 2012, great, wonderful. But I guess 2 weeks ago when I fell and then saw the doctor, I was rudely reminded that I didn't leave something in Vegas that I would have liked to leave in Vegas, that I tried to leave in Vegas. And that is, my MS and all the, or not all of, but some of the complications that I've had with it. I mean, I've been blind, I've been deaf. I couldn't walk, of course, with MS. But, this incident was such I guess it was kind of a disaster for me in my whole fitness competitive career. So I thought I could leave that behind in Vegas. But, back then I was 35 years old and pretty much in the best shape of my life, at least aesthetically. I looked like the best shape of my life, but, of course, I had MS back then. Today I'm 45 years old, and I believe I'm stronger. I believe I'm MS strong. I'm definitely strong in mind. My body's actually stronger than again, I look stronger than I did back then. I'm actually more quote unquote fit. I'm leaner. I don't think I know that I'm not physically as strong as I was back then, quantitatively, but I'm strong in mind. Positive thinking. I'm never going to give up. My body's strong enough. As long as I don't fall often, I'm doing well. And I'm also strong in spirit. So with these things, I think I'm a better version than I even was in 2005. Pardon me, 2008. I hope that each of you out there can, I want to encourage you all to walk your way. Remember, no one has walked in your shoes on the exact same path that you have on your MS journey. So I encourage you all to walk your way, whether it be unassisted or not. Hopefully to be the best version of yourself that you can each and every day. This is Dawn Melanie, and I thank you for listening, and I hope you can join me next week for another series of Managing Self.